Good afternoon, team. Welcome to another Life Before. As we wait for Nimi to get on, how was your day?
Day was good. Another successful day as a Scrum Master, as a COO. Hey,
And there
Nimi.
she is, the star, Nimi Bello. How you doing?
Hello.
This time period for moms right now. This is
Oh, I get it.
I'm just coming back from piano lessons, and I was like, you know what? Let me just drop them off at my mom's house. I'm not even gonna. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. We know the struggle. I don't know the struggle, but because I have kids, but I don't do the mommy duties.
Yeah, I do the mommy, so I understand. I definitely have respect for it. I understand.
My life to get here. How y'all doing?
We're doing
Doing
great.
well.
We're doing great.
Thanks for joining, Nimi. We're excited to have you on tonight.
Okay. Can I take a quick bio break and get some water before we get started?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. So, Damo, my day was good. How about yours, man?
It was good. It was great. Can't complain. Working from home, great job. Reached out to a few people today, made some good connections. I can't complain. Life is good right now. What about you, Pia?
Mine was good too. Definitely no complaints. Yeah, I was looking forward to this evening though. Definitely looking forward to this evening.
Did you make it to the gym yesterday? I did.
I did not. I was so tired yesterday, but I did go Sunday and I did go Monday. So I got my 2 days in, but I will be there tomorrow morning.
Actually,
4 days.
Actually, I did make it to the gym last night. This morning, I didn't make it to the gym. I had too much going on, and I hate not making it to the gym. I was actually texting Tim when I was in the gym.
How many days do you go though? I mean, not how many days. How many? How often do you go?
I go 5 to 6 days a week.
Okay. Yeah, I go like 4. And then like spring, I start to do like twice a day, like 2 days a week. So I usually try to do 6 workouts per week.
Y'all are making me feel bad over here. We lost Pia.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I need to get my shit together. So you don't feel bad. I haven't gotten into the January mode and come back and have all the fitness goals and going to the gym. It hasn't hit me yet.
Well, this time of the year is really bad in the gym because it's everyone trying to get into the gym and have like my new year, new me.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not right. I'm still a work in progress, with that.
Damo has to share the weights this time of year. Poor thing.
All you have to do is wait until like February.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be back to normal again. Unfortunately, don't get me wrong. I want people to succeed and be healthy. But the reality of it is the gyms can't wait for New Year's Eve. They make all the money.
So while we're waiting for Nimi to get situated, I'm gonna give you guys a little story on how we met, right? So we met at Render ATL. I don't know, maybe 3 years ago?
Yep. Was it 3 years ago?
Was it 3 years ago or 2 years? I don't know. The years are running together. So I went there because I was starting my recruiting agency at the time, the recruiting part of the company. But I was the only one doing the recruiting. But I was doing interviews at the time as well, just to get some insight on what people do, trying to get my name out there a little more. And then I came across her, and she was like, I'm a Scrum Master, but I just got promoted to release train engineer. I was like, that's amazing. And now, I said, let me reach back and see how she's doing. That's why she is here tonight.
Hello.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. I know we have 30 minutes with Nimi. So
now I'm a little bit, since the kids are not here. So
okay.
I wasn't sure how the conversation was gonna go. And I was like, you know what? Let me just not even do it to myself. Let me just have them in my mom's place. So
how old are they? If you don't mind me, how old are they?
8 and 7. 8 and 7.
All right, yeah. I have an 8-year-old too.
Oh, okay. Boy or girl?
Girl, and she's upstairs reading a book.
Oh yeah. So I wasn't sure how long that was gonna last.
Right.
they come and start like, yeah, and I have boys, so I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah.
Yeah, boys are a lot. So we want to get into this, right? So I'll let Nimi introduce herself. Let us know how you came to be a Scrum Master, release train engineer, and what you're doing now. And then we'll get into some questions and we'll get your take on a few things and really have a eventful conversation here.
Alrighty. Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Nimi Bello, and currently I'm the founder. Well, not even currently. I've been the founder of Lincoln Power for this is year 5 for us. And yeah, snap for that, because it has definitely been quite a journey. But I'll take a step back really quickly and kind of talk about how I got here, because as you all know, it's never like a straight path. It's always, different twists and turns, basically. So I was in sales. So I was fortunate enough to graduate from college and immediately started my career. So literally, I walked across the stage. Prior to that, I had already had an offer in like March. I graduated in May, and it was March, had the job, signed the offer.
Nice.
May, walked across the stage, and then a week later, my career started. So I never actually got the chance to do the thing where stay at your mom's, be on your mom's couch. Like I hear people talk about like life after college, and it's like, oh, I'm moving back to my parents' house, but I never got that experience. It was just like, boom, thrown into corporate culture, working with people that were way older than me. But what that experience did was it opened me up to a lot of opportunities. So that's kind of where my journey started off with sales. And then from sales, I found out about Scrum. And at this time, there wasn't a platform like we're on right now where it's like, hey, people are sharing about what they do. And especially people that look like you are talking about how to get started. So there wasn't that. And we're talking about almost 10 years ago. Because I'm 10 years for me in the industry now. It's crazy to even say that out loud sometimes, because so much has changed. But I got my CSM. I had heard about Scrum, and it was just like, oh, I got curious. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know more. So I would look it up online, and I was just like, okay, I don't know what the hell this is or what they're talking about, but I do like the principles and the values, like just the mindset aspect. So like every other Agilist, I got obsessed with the idea. I got obsessed with it. Yeah. And it was just like something cool that I was like, oh, I'm gonna tell my friends I'm doing this. They don't even know what I'm talking about. So it's cool.
Yeah, they never do.
Yeah, they never really know. Like even till today, I think my parents finally understand what I do now. And that's been like 10 years now. So I got my CSM, and it was through Salesforce is where I would say my technology journey started, because I was in sales. So that would make sense. So it was Salesforce. And then it was like, hey, we have this thing that, called Agile. Might be interested in getting a certification. Okay, they're paying for it, so why not? So I did that, got the certification, and like they say, the rest is history. It kind of just opened up the floodgates, and it kind of just naturally started to progress. So I went from supporting sales, and then from sales, made the move into manufacturing. I've lived like 10 different lives manufacturing, but one thing that was constant was my Agile and Scrum background was the value add in these spaces. So manufacturing, fintech, consulting, like really like literally across multi-sector industries. So as I was doing that, started to progress from being a Scrum Master to being a delivery lead to helping to lead Agile transformations. It just kind of started to progress, because I think what I loved about my personality and myself was I wasn't afraid to try.
Yeah.
It looked like what it needed to look like. And I remember just going to all these Agile meetups, and older white male just always in the room. And I will definitely admit that it did put me in a space of a little bit of imposter syndrome, because it was just really different for me. It was just, I was always the youngest or the only person that looked like me in this space. So I just kind of took it upon myself, I think, especially when Clubhouse kind of came into play, to educate other people about what I do and how to pivot and how to make a career transition. But I knew quickly that I didn't want to be an agile coach per se. I didn't have any desire to be an agile coach or to be a trainer. And it's so funny because I was talking to somebody about this earlier, and I was just saying that I did not have the desire or the zeal to want to like do the training thing and do all of that. It just wasn't my vibe. It wasn't my vibe. It wasn't something that I was focused. And something that I feel like isn't talked about enough is how to expand your network in the space. I think a lot of people come into the agile space and they have a perspective of, it needs to be like this. I can only become a scrum master and I do that for X amount of years until I'm tired. And then I do that. And then maybe I become an agile coach, or maybe I become a release train engineer, and that's really it. So the average person that I always have conversations with is, even though agile is a mindset approach, sometimes we don't practice those things ourselves as agilists. You kind of get stuck with, this is what I know, and this is what I'm going to keep doing. And then you box yourself. So for me, with my background and my experience in sales, transferable skills, I think sometimes people kind of forget you don't have to leave everything behind to be a good scrum master or a good RTE or a good program delivery lead. You can still bring in different experiences and also expand your breadth by knowing data, learning more about products. Like, it's actually more of a value add, especially right now where we are in the industry. Sorry, I hope I'm not going too deep yet.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Because today I was just thinking about how I wanted to approach this conversation, and have a lot that I want to say, because I may not say everything at one time, but I pay attention. The agile streets are interesting right now, and I think that AI came in to remind us. That's how I'm seeing it, of the human connection. So when I think back to 2020 during Clubhouse, when I was doing those runs of talking about build your network, real estate, do the networking thing, I think now it's where it's like, you know what? You're right. I do need to network. I do need to expand my network real estate, because AI is a reminder of what we have to focus on as scrum masters, which is the human interaction. AI can't fix or solve that problem. AI is only going to help you to optimize you to be able to focus on building authentic relationships with your team. So,
yeah, I love that. I love that you said that, and you coming from sales and transitioning over so many times.
Yeah.
And the way that Agile is moving in the world. And a lot of people, I will say this, a lot of people use Agile and don't even know they're using it.
No.
Because of the principles and the values, like you stated.
Yes.
I feel like Agile could be in any industry. That's just my personal opinion. And I said this the moment I became a Scrum Master and knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I said, this can touch so many different industries.
Yep.
And people aren't using it to its highest value. So now we're seeing that, and we're seeing it expand to so many different industries. And Tim, you just bought a book by Jeff Sutherland, right?
Yeah,
I'm reading the same book. So tell us a little bit about that book.
When you said read, that implies I finished it. I'm in the process of reading, and the book is called Mastering the Art of Twice the Work in Half the Time. Jeff Sutherland, one of the co-founders of Scrum, him and his son JJ Sutherland wrote the book. And it was very interesting because I'm actually very early on in the book, I'm not going to lie. But you just mentioned something about manufacturing. And Damo, you were talking about how Scrum and Agile methodologies and Agile mindset and the values and principles can touch so many industries, and it has touched so many industries. But about the manufacturing thing, so I was reading the book, and in the book there's a story about the company John Deere. I'm sure you guys have heard of John Deere. They do tractors and all types of different things. But there's a very important person who works in supply chain management for John Deere, and during the pandemic, they implemented Scrum within their supply chain management system. And it was just a really, really interesting story because so many people thought this wouldn't work for them because they were special. And I think so many organizations and so many companies and so many people think this won't necessarily work for us, or they're maybe afraid to take the steps to make change. But I thought it was very interesting because that supply chain what you mentioned about supply chain management really sparked that idea for me about the story about John Deere. So I think it's interesting how Scrum can and Agile can be used by people and they don't even know it, and it can be used by people who think they can't use it, which is super interesting as well. So anyway, that's my tangent about that.
No, it's a good point, because we have to remember that it's a mindset adoption. We always have that saying is, Agile is easy. It's easy, but it's difficult to actually adopt because you have to make a mindset switch. And there's also the aspect of the change aspect, which we're humans. We've been conditioned to look at things from a certain perspective, and sometimes it's difficult for us to shift our perspective. It's like going into a job and it's your first day as a Scrum Master. And I remember I used to do this, we all do it. And if you say you don't, I know you're lying. Where you get in there and it's like, I have the CSM. I know all the values. I know all the principles. And I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do. And they're like, I've actually been working here for 15 years and I don't care about your little theories and what you want to do because I'm used to doing it this way. And that's all I'm going to keep doing.
It's funny you say that because one of my first Scrum Master jobs, right, there was a guy who I really, really, I'm going to say I'm appreciative for because he actually was a great coach and mentor for me. Yeah. But one thing that really got underneath people's skin was that he always went back to the principles. Yeah. And for him to be agile, he was not agile at all. No, he used to drive people crazy on the calls. And it was so difficult to work with him because he wasn't flexible. But he would always reference, I guess, I don't know if he felt that was where his knowledge was and he was going to express his knowledge and how much he knows in agile, but he always went back to that agile guide.
And Pia, you use agile in your day-to-day. You can go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. But.
Oh yeah, no. I was going to say another thing too about mindset is that one thing I noticed, not so much where I am now, but because where I am now, they were already pretty much practicing agile. A lot of people are familiar with it, but that same company, they were all new to agile. And one of the issues or roadblocks that we were facing was that a lot of the senior leadership had a hard time because they thought their jobs were going to be replaced. Instead of figuring out how they can become a part of it, they thought it was there to replace them, So it was more challenging just trying to get them on board because they felt that their jobs are in jeopardy. So that was another obstacle, is trying to convince anyone and let everyone know that we're not here to replace your job. We're just going to make some adjustments and hopefully make it easier, So I just wanted to kind of piggyback on that mindset thing because it affects, the mindset can negatively affect the transformation in so many ways. What were you going to say, Damo?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, when I first met you, you were coaching people on mindset and how to elevate their life, their personal life, right? On using agile values and principles to motivate them to do better in life in general. And I think that was amazing. And that's why I said, I need her on the team. I know that she knows what she's doing. So that was amazing to me as well. And just like AI today, right? Just like Agile came in and was like, I think I'm going to lose my job. I don't think AI is going to replace jobs. It's just a tool for us to use to work faster, better, and more efficiently. Now, some jobs, I'm not going to say.
Will replace. Some jobs.
But
I mean, it's optimization. That's really it. It's optimization. So yeah, I do agree that not all jobs can be replaced, but some jobs will be replaced. But I always say that it's the people that know how to use AI that's going to take the job.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. If you don't know how to use it, then you have no value add. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, very true. And in addition to that, if you're not a person that knows how to adjust to change, right? So they may take that job, but it doesn't mean that there's not going to be any new jobs that's going to be introduced to, the work environments. So it's all about, okay, yeah, I can't work here anymore, but it's okay. It's time to figure out what other options or opportunities are out there,
right?
Especially with technologies, like you're saying, learning AI, but any other. There's so many other things being introduced to us with technology, so it's not limited to what you're used to, So
absolutely,
not having an open mind, that's part of the problem.
So Nimi, let's talk more about your journey into having your own company, right?
Yeah.
So you started out. Now, stop me if I say anything wrong. So you started out in sales, moved from sales into being a Scrum Master, Scrum Master into delivery lead.
I've had like different roles. So I've had a crisis manager. No, I'm just joking. Because no. I've had a babysitter, crisis manager, firefighter, therapist. Like the list goes on and on. Servant leader. Because if you look at the role of a Scrum Master, you kind of evolve into different spaces the more experience you gain. Where I would say currently right now, where I am from a Scrum Master perspective, because I haven't actually technically been a Scrum Master in like a long time per se, but the skill sets have expanded. I've worked in the capacity of coaching teams, of leading transformations, and then the most recent was being a release train engineer with a promotion at Deloitte. And I would say each stepping stone or each opportunity and each career move, there's been more confidence in my capabilities as a Scrum Master, because I've worked with different companies, I've worked with different teams, I've supported different tech stacks and different applications, and the list goes on and on. I've worked with teams that are co-located, that are, and then we had COVID that happened. So that even changed a whole nother level of my experience. And I had to kind of go back into relationship building 101, because now we're no longer in the office. I can't see you anymore.
Right.
So the way you relate to your team has to change. So it's really a mindset of, okay, how do I now pivot how to work with my team in this capacity? Because we are in the middle of a pandemic. And if you all can remember, there was a time that Scrum Masters did not have remote opportunities. And that changed instantly in 2020. So we're talking about, from my perspective, we're talking about 2015, my journey started. And then boom, 5-6 years later, we're now in a situation that I'm forced to pivot my style, because we are now in a situation where we're not going into the office anymore.
Right. It's virtual.
It's virtual. So if we're being honest, it was a struggle for a lot of people, myself included, because there's a new way of working. I'm not able to go up one desk and talk to a developer. It was different, even though we probably had calls where I've worked with teams in Colombia and Germany and in different spaces in India. Yes, some of the calls were virtual, but if you think about it, majority of the team was actually in person doing all of the things. So communication was something that we kind of didn't really pay attention to it, but it really changed quickly, if you get where I'm coming from, when the pandemic hit, because you had to flex your style. You had to really go into your toolkit and do things a little bit differently. And I feel like all of us were in the space where we were all trying to figure it out, because I don't know about you all, but I didn't know a lot of people that have had virtual teams in the Scrum Master capacity prior to COVID happening. So a lot of that stuff changed. And I know for me, getting on Clubhouse was really beneficial, getting on Clubhouse was great because it opened up the floodgates of Scrum Masters and Agile practitioners who not only looked like me, but had the same experiences and the same concerns as I did. Because when I got on Clubhouse, it was to educate people that look like us to basically say, hey, here's how I can empower you, basically, right? Here's how I can empower you. Here's where I can educate you to learn and understand what I do and position yourself to be able to make a career transition. Because a lot of people were in a headspace that they wanted to make a career transition during that time. So myself and a few other Agilists, I had never met that many Agilists in a long time. I was used to going to the meetups, and the meetups were, if we're being really honest, and no disrespect to you, Timothy Lewis, it was older white men. Like that's just the reality. It was older white male.
No disrespect taken.
Agile had a phase, and it still does to a certain extent. Like if we go online right now and we Google Agile coaches, you all know who we're going to see, or even RTEs. So nobody really understood, how do I make this transition? There wasn't platforms like this. If we're being really honest, we started to see more and more information out there. I would say probably during COVID, and then like fast forward to now. Even now, we don't have enough spaces where folks truly even know, like, okay, I can come over here and do the training and do all the things and learn all the stuff, and then boom, I start my career. Because it's not prescriptive, right? That's what they don't tell you. It's not prescriptive. It's based off of experience. But it's like, shit, where do I get the experience from if nobody wants to hire me?
And that's one thing that when we created our program, right? Yeah. We looked at all of these bottlenecks, and I say bottlenecks, let's say problems so everyone understand.
Right.
And said all the problems that we ran into, we looked at it and said, how can I add value to a person that is trying to change their career, trying to change their life, and they don't know where to start, and then once they do start, where to go after that. So with our program, we train and we give experience by giving real projects inside of the company. And then you stay with the company making part-time pay, because that's another issue. Once you get a certification, once you're in the job market, you're not getting paid at all.
No, you're not.
You're just like, oh, I'm hoping I get this interview. I'm hoping that I pass the interview. I get hired, get that offer letter. But with us, what we try to do is say, okay, even though you spent money with us, let us put money back in your pocket in different ways. And one of those ways is working inside of the company for part-time, and we're still trying to push you to other companies. So that's one of the bottlenecks that we wanted to alleviate and take out, because a lot of people don't know what to do after they get the certification. Let's be honest. Once you get your certification, like, oh, let me just go start applying. And then you're looking at a resume, and I've seen resumes where it doesn't even tell the story of what you've done, because you don't have that experience. You're just doing a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, different things that you've done. But
terminology. You start with terminology.
Yeah, and then when a person looks at your resume, they're like, they can't solve my problem. I don't know where I could put you, but it's not here.
Yeah,
and that's the problem that we wanted to solve. We're problem solvers.
And I love that you talked about that, because I would say that the easiest way for people to understand where we are currently right now in this current climate, you're a consultant. That's really it. You're literally a consultant. So you have to be the expert, meaning you have to understand your customer. You have to speak your customer's lingo, and you have to be able to provide value. So now we're talking more about business agility, right? And whenever I talk about business agility, I don't think that people who are Scrum Masters fully understand the concept of the idea of business agility, because companies are not wanting to train you. Throw that out the window.
They do not. That's right.
They don't want to train you. They want you to come in and know your shit, which is why goes back to my first point about saying you have to look at yourself as a consultant. Well, you can't if you don't have experience. But if you're somebody who is, I love using people that have education background, right? I feel like people that are teachers are really great Scrum Masters because they have transferable skills. They know how to listen actively. They know how to have empathy. They exercise servant leadership. They have those skill sets that a lot of people who are technical do not have. So what I just stated are already superpowers that you can utilize to flex your muscle. But what tends to happen is Scrum Masters try to become technical, and that's where the disconnect comes into play. You try to become technical, you try to talk technical, but guess what? Those are not your skill sets as a Scrum Master. If you are wanting to be technical, then you should be a technical PM. You should be a technical products manager. You should be somebody who likes to do code. I know for me personally, I ain't never coded a day in my life, and I have no desire to code because that's not my strength. That's not my skill set. That's not something that I've invested in building my capabilities around. My capabilities are around, I can sell this cup to you right now in my sleep. I can know how to position it to you, and I know how to build relationships. And I truly believe that servant leadership is the key to success. So those are my soft skills. So when I started doing my interviews, when I first got my CSM, and I was doing what everybody else was doing, I was going into the interviews and I was talking about backlog refinements, sprint planning, retro. I was using buzzwords to have conversations, and it wasn't successful. And if I'm being honest, where I had the most success was being able to lean into my soft skills, which is being relational. I have had interviews where we had just had conversations about travel. And I got called the next day. When can you start?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't so much the technicality. And I think we have to remember that this truly is an industry that you have to have certain skill sets, and everybody doesn't have the personality to be a Scrum Master. Let's just be honest.
Right. I agree.
Everybody can't be a Scrum Master. And I think you can't just say, hey, I want to be a Scrum Master because I want to make six figures. And I will have that conversation with you till I'm blue in the face. Because Scrum Masters have different characteristics and different traits and personalities, as I mentioned. And if you're somebody who's a little bit on the introverted side, I don't really know how you would, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't really know how that will work for you, because most of the engineers and people that you're supporting are introverted. They don't want to talk to you. They just want to be on their computer. So somebody has to bring that energy. I always like to say that I'm not your typical Scrum Master, because I'm not. I'm the one that comes on there. I'm the one that wants to know about your kids. I'm the one who wants to know about what you did yesterday. I'm the one that wants to have human interaction before we start talking about business. There are Scrum Masters that are like, okay, great. Put the Jira up. Let's go ahead and 15 minutes of daily stand up. That's not really my style. If I'm being honest. So I think, but that comes with experience. I'm not going to say on day one, I'm just pulling up Jira and I have that influence. So I would say overall, it's assessing and looking at what are your skill sets, that you can transfer into this space versus terminology. Because if you're not able to articulate to a stakeholder or a hiring manager what value you're providing, then it's going to continue to be a problem as you go through interviews.
Yeah, and I know Tim can say this too, because Tim was the person that kind of brought that energy when I first met him. Like I tell him all the time, he was the best Scrum Master I've ever met, because he truly cares about everyone that he works with. So me, myself, I was that guy. I was the introvert. A lot of you probably wouldn't think I was an introvert, but I was not a talker. I was not a a relationship type of person. Even though I played college sports my whole life, but my actions were the things that led people. Like whatever I did, they followed me doing that. And I had to get out of my comfort zone of being an introvert, because if you are going to exceed in anything, you have to have relationships with people. It's not like somebody's going to tell you what to do over and over again, and then you think that you're going to excel in life or exceed your expectations or even meet your expectations, because a lot of people have expectations that they will never meet because they will never get out there and do something about it. And I'm truly a believer in relationships, like you said, also getting out of your comfort zone and putting forth the work to do something that you've never done before.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm a risk taker, but I do take risks, calculated risks, which we all know how to do that. Risk mitigation. That's what I do, and I love doing it, and I love seeing people do it and helping people do that.
I want to say something really quickly, because I'm glad you clarified that. Well, I'm glad you said that, right? Because, you know, it is true that if you have a certain personality type, being a Scrum Master or an Agile coach will be much easier. Like for me, I knew for a fact when I took the Scrum Master course, watching the instructor, you know, and then working as a Scrum Master, I knew for a fact it matched my personality. But I must say, for someone who is interested, right? You're learning something about it. You can still, whatever you want to do, you can still give it a shot.
Right.
It doesn't mean that because you're an introvert, it's not for you.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So you may deal with your team a little differently. Like I'm a smiley, bubbly person. You may not be smiley and bubbly, but you still may be able to possess the skills to be successful and interact with your team. Right.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of put that out there too, because anyone watching this, if you find that you are an introvert, but the idea of being a Scrum Master and Agile coach still intrigued you, it's still a possibility that you can be extremely successful. There's many successful people now who couldn't ever imagine themselves being a public speaker.
Correct.
Right? But you have to do what you have to do if you want to get to the next level. And they wind up becoming exceptional public speakers over time. So if you put the work in and, you know, over time, you will progress if that's something that you find that you want to do. So.
Yeah, and I love that you clarified that, because again, that's not what I'm saying, because you can do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it. But there's this thing where there's a common misconception that the only way I can be in this Agile space is by being a Scrum Master. So all I'm saying is be open-minded, right? If one way is not working for you, if you get that CSM and you discover that I don't have the personality for this, there are other pathways for you to explore. That's what I'm talking about. So I should have probably elaborated more around that. So I'm not saying that if you're introverted, you can't be a good Scrum Master. No. All I'm saying is if you identify that, maybe you might be a good product owner.
Product owner, yep. I agree.
And that's cool. You might be a good supporting function. You might even like doing UX UI, and you didn't even know you like doing UX UI, but because you were not exposed to this space or to this industry, you just saw that it's the hottest thing.
Or business analyst, you know,
or business analyst. Like there are a lot of other roles that you can definitely explore if you do find it. Because I feel like a lot of people die on the hill of being a Scrum Master, and it's like, open up, look at different perspective. You might really be a dope because you are detail oriented. You might really be a good person that is good with product management or being a product owner, or project management might even be better for you than being a Scrum Master.
Yeah. And with all of those, you will still just need, you know, you'll still benefit from the knowledge you've gained from the Scrum. However, you may have to pivot into something else.
You may have to pivot. And I think that is just fine, because I've seen it, you know, myself included, where it's like, I just want to be a Scrum Master. I want to be a Scrum Master. I want to be a Scrum Master. But it's like, there are other opportunities out there and other roles that you can definitely be open to and explore. You don't have to put yourself in a situation. And I think that's where going to my next point. If you look at my background and kind of the different things that I've done, I'm a creative. I didn't have any desire of just being in one space. I'm a creative. I'm scatterbrained. I'm I'm organized, but I'm scattered. It's a weird thing for me because I'm a creative. So my corporate experience has helped me, and being a scrum master has actually really helped me to know how to plan better, know how to prioritize, know how to do all of the things that we learn as scrum masters. But I'm a creative, and sometimes do I go off track? Absolutely, because my brain is like every second. But I got to create a to-do list. I got my Kanban board. That helps me to stay organized. So I would say there are benefits, like you mentioned earlier, where you can learn those things and you can take them into different spaces.
Yeah.
I know Tim and I were on a training, maybe in December, right? You remember that training that we went through, Tim? And I asked the facilitator, I said, what makes a Scrum Master different from a CEO? He couldn't tell me because he said, what did he say? He said that it was the pay, of course, or like the power. That's what he said, the power. The power, of course, the power. But if you look at it, Scrum Master has a way of teaching you so many things that you can use, is no matter what level you are at. Because if you look at a CEO, right, that's the visionary, the creative, if you want to say. That's the visionary. And now you're creating, you're spinning up these teams, and then you're going to another team, another department, and implementing something, and leaving that team and going somewhere else. And then before you know it, you have built this company. And you know how every department works because you were the one to spin all of those teams up, put those people in the right spots. And now you're sitting here and you know exactly where everything is going, how it's supposed to be going. And you really started at the bottom as a Scrum Master. And now you're sitting at the CEO level. And the same as Chief Operations Officer. It's the same thing. Like, it touches so many different industries, roles, levels. It's no way that you can go wrong with becoming a Scrum Master, because you're going to learn, those doors are going to open. You're going to sit in the rooms with the executives. They're going to take your direction in a sense.
Correct.
You're closely involved with those teams. Tim, you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. I think it's actually a legitimate concern, because early on in my career, I had that same concern. I said, well, I'm a Scrum Master. Okay, what's the next step?
Yes.
But where do I go after that? And I felt like there was a ceiling there. And at first I didn't realize I could sidestep and go up a different route, or I could, pivot and go this way and use the things that I've learned to help expand my career and expand and push myself to a different path and continue to elevate. I think it is a real legitimate thing where a lot of Scrum Masters, they've been Scrum Masters for 10 years, 12 years, longer. And they're like, where do I go from here? Okay, I could be an RTE, like you mentioned, or maybe I could be, another role that's maybe leading a community of practice of Scrum Masters or Center of Excellence or something like that. But there are other opportunities, and I think it only can help you as a stepping stone, because you learn so many skills that can be used for lots of different things. Whether it's CEO or COO or any different job, product management, product development, it's only going to help you because you understand the values, the mindsets, which then in turn drive those processes. I like how you touched on that, like the values and mindset and the agile mindset, because so many people get stuck in the processes that you forget that it's those values, those principles, that mindset that actually drives those things. And then I'm going to go on a different spell. Going back to like AI, I think that's why I don't worry so much about AI. I actually think, as you mentioned, it's something that helps you elevate, but it's not something I would worry about it like taking the job of Scrum Masters or something, because it's such a people-driven role. It's a relationship-driven role. That requires you to be able to think about those values, those principles, utilize those to make decisions that AI might necessarily at this point be able to do, but maybe eventually will. But also like having empathy, being a listener, having those soft skills. So many of those things that make a Scrum Master good at what they do. I think AI can only, just supplement your skill set and actually make our jobs easier. You don't have to do some of the legwork that you have to do right now, because you can utilize things that AI provides. But
it's just optimization. It optimizes or not only your customer experience, but also your team's experience too, because you're able to now focus on human connection, human interaction.
Yeah.
And I forgot
those soft skills, as you mentioned.
Yeah, the soft skills. I forgot where I was speaking at. I don't know if it was at the Women of PM conference. And I was telling them that fast forward to 2025, I know that the job market in 2024 has been a struggle for everyone. But I truly believe that 2025 is going to be the return of the Scrum Master roles. Like, I feel like companies were on a high for the last few years where it's like, hey, we have this new shiny object, it's AI. Okay, everybody be reactive. And now it's like, wait a minute. I don't know if that solved all our problems. We might have to go back and start hiring the people that truly add value to our team, because AI can't solve for morale. AI can't solve for servant leadership. AI can't solve for truly understanding just the relationship, the relational aspect, you know? So I think that we're in a space where in 2025 specifically, we're definitely going to start seeing going back to basics and seeing those roles truly, I would say probably even more appreciated now, because a lot of companies were doing the big jump when AI came in and disrupted the market. It was like more of a reactive perspective. But as we talk about scaling businesses, business agility, how do you want to effectively run your business? Because again, like I mentioned, we're all basically consultants at this point. You're a consultant. You're not just running sprints and doing backlog refinements. If you are, great. If that is what you're doing currently right now as a Scrum Master, I'm sorry. I would be very concerned about
for sure.
I'll be concerned. I mean,
that's one of the inputs, but
right.
I think in respect to business agility, it's a lot of the outputs, right? Like, what are we getting from what we're doing? How are you helping contribute to, whether it be higher revenue, better delivery, higher customer reviews, or customer experience, or some of those things are more important than just, like we talked about a minute ago, process, facilitating a sprint planning. Great. You're great at facilitating sprint plannings. Congratulations. A lot of people don't really care about that. They want to know, how is that benefiting the team, the organization, and ultimately whether it's making more money or higher customer satisfaction or better products to market faster. So I think it's like the outputs as opposed to some of those inputs, as you mentioned.
Yeah, because I mean, I just know if you are working with a team, right, and you have been the Scrum Master of the team for over 2 years, I would be very concerned. I'll be very concerned because are you being a blocker to the team? Because the goal is for you to build the team and to move on to something else and right? So I don't know if any Scrum Master should be with one team for more than 2 years. And 2 years is even like, you know what? You may be a junior Scrum Master, even though there's no such thing, but that's another conversation for another day. Maybe you're a junior Scrum Master, quote unquote, or you're somebody who doesn't have as much experience and you're just coming in and you're like, you know what? It's a new team. I'm new to this. We're trying to figure out if this relationship is going to work. That's it. Is it going to work or if it's not going to work?
So let's talk about, not to cut you off. So I just have a question. So I want all of you to answer this, right? So what does a mature Scrum team look like?
Yep. I'll go first.
Yeah. Nimi, go ahead.
When your team is literally, when you literally give them the oxygen to survive without you. Like, your team should be able to, like, if you were to fall off the face of the earth, let's say you just happen to travel to Mexico and you're like, oop, I ain't never coming back. I went to Mexico on vacation. I was supposed to take my little 1 week PTO, but honestly, life is life. And right now, I'm not interested in coming back for another 3 weeks or so. I just literally just disappeared. If your team is not able to survive without you, that's where we can say that, okay, we got to reassess what happened. They need to be able to self-govern, self-manage without your involvement. So an effective and a successful Scrum team is able to take all that you've instilled in them, you've coached them on, you've helped them work out through the kinks. They're not going to be perfect per se, don't get me wrong, but they are truly able to self-manage and self-govern themselves without you having to be on top of them, do the daily refinements, like do all the things that we're paid to come and do. If they're not able to do that, then I would say that is where the conversation shifts.
Yeah. I'm going to say I definitely agree with her 100%. And I'm also going to say a healthy team in general, a Scrum team, is when a team truly understands the strengths and weaknesses of everyone on the team, right? And they can leverage that without any conflict. Also, I'm going to say, in addition to what she's saying, is that I also feel that a Scrum team should not rely on one person to make sure the Scrum's best practices are being followed, right? So a healthy and mature Scrum team can hold each other accountable when certain things aren't being followed, when they know they've been coached on that and know the right way. Everyone can take accountability and responsibility and making sure those things are followed through. So I'm certainly going to say leveraging strengths and weaknesses, understanding what those are, and then everyone understanding best practices and being able to implement them and carry them through without relying on one person. Because I've seen that too, where it's like the tech lead is responsible when everyone else has the same coaching. Everyone else is fully aware of best practices, but they're still relying on someone else. So,
yeah, I'll chime in on that. I really like the answer that you gave, Nimi. The one thing that I'll say is when early on in my career, I was told you should be coaching yourself out of your job. You should coach yourself out of your position as a Scrum Master so the team is not relying on you. I think where the challenge is, a lot of Scrum Masters work in corporate environments, and we have a job. We need that job. We need that income. And there might not necessarily be a different place for you to go at that moment. Your leader or your manager might not be ready to move you to another position. And it's not because you haven't done a good job with your team, but I think sometimes that's just some of the things that happen in a corporate environment. But I think you definitely hit it on the head. You want to be able to coach your way out of your job where your team can survive and thrive without your presence. So when you go on vacation, things aren't falling apart. Or if you disappear and fall off the face of the earth, they will be okay. And other people are holding each other and the team accountable to Scrum values, or maybe they're not a Scrum team, Agile values and principles and things like that. So I like how you answered that question. I think there can be some, what's the word I'm looking for? There can be some corporate funniness around like that. I agree with you for the most part, but like, for example, I've worked on Scrum teams where I've been there for more than 2 years. And it's not necessarily because I didn't do a good job, but it's like, well, I'm trying to elevate. I have goals. I'm trying to, push my career forward, but this is where I need to be for now. Because this is
I'm sorry. Mine's going to be short. I was just going to say, sometimes the teams are so immature that it takes some time, right? I worked on teams, but they knew nothing. The organization itself knew nothing.
And that's the other thing is the organization as well. If you're in an organization that is truly agile, which I would say majority of organizations are not.
I have never.
Yeah.
In my 10 years, I have never seen or heard. Now, I have heard about the Spotify model, which is probably like one of the greatest things that was successful, but that's also questionable too. If you the more you get more experience, a lot of stuff is questionable. Like no company is 100% agile. Like
it's not about perfection though, right?
Yes, exactly.
What is it about? You guys answer.
Incremental improvement.
Continuous improvement, right? It's about continuous improvement, but I think it's more difficult in situations like you mentioned, Pia, where a team is very immature, or it might be a very large team, or the organization isn't focused on an agile mindset.
Or supportive.
So what I was gonna say earlier, I talked about my superpower is on focusing on the networking aspect and building relationships, right? I think it goes back to what you were talking about, just talking about like your role. The organization there are some organizations, right? Well, where I am right now, and if you're a new Scrum Master listening to this, this may be different for you. I'm not in the position to validate why you need to be more agile, for lack of a better words. Like I'm not in a space where I got to convince you of the value, right? It's either you get it or you don't get it. And sometimes what I like to tell people is don't carry the weight of the company or the organization on your shoulders, because what will happen is you're trying to solve a problem, right, that has probably been in existence for years before you got there. So if you're watching this and you are a new Scrum Master and you are experiencing burnout and you are tired and you're like, nobody's listening to me, I don't have no voice or whatever, go back to where this all started, because there's a foundation before you got to the company. So focus on what you can control, locus of control.
And I'm sure we've all been in those positions where it was early in our career or new to a company, and you're like, you come in, you hear about all the problems, and you're like, I'm going to fix all this. I know I can do it.
I'm going to fix all this.
You're not Olivia Pope. You're not going to fix your problem. You're not going to come in and roll up your sleeve, with your 2 years, 3 years of experience. Even if an agile coach can't fix it, you think you're going to fix it? Okay. I'm just saying this because I wish somebody would have had this conversation with me early on, because you get so obsessed with the ideas of, I know the values, I know the principles, I know the manifesto, I know all of those things, and I'm just going to come in and tell you what to do. No, take a step back, focus on what you can control, right? And the things that I'm talking about is, okay, who is the person that's the voice of the team? Who has the influence? That is your person. That is the person you need to build a relationship with to help you to do your job efficiently. Because here's what's going to happen. The person that has the most influence on the team actually makes your job a lot easier. They're the ones that they've probably been with the team for the longest. They know everybody's strengths. They're gonna tell you everybody's business without telling you everybody's business if you listen correctly. Take a step back. Don't come in and try to problem solve right away. Be a listener. Observe, take notes, ask questions. Even when you know the answers to things, ask questions, right? This is how you start to learn the different styles of your team. I'm literally giving a quick masterclass on how to be an effective Scrum Master, because I see this a lot. It's like, new Scrum Masters come in to an organization and immediately you put this pressure on yourself where you want to solve an organization's problem that has been in existence for a really long time, but focus on what you can control. If you get 1 or 2, 3 wins, if your team is having a daily stand-up in less than 15 minutes, guess what? Give yourself a pat on the back. Start there. The little wins, focus on that. If your team is starting to have conversations and maybe the people that were not as vocal are now speaking up and now sharing insights, that's a win, for you. So focus on what you have access to control. If your team members are scheduling more one-on-ones on the calendar and you've created a safe space for them to express things to you that they wouldn't express to other people, that is a win for you as a Scrum Master. And I'm sharing this because I wish that when I started my career, I focused on that. It was always the bigger things that I wanted to focus on. It's like, I wanted to ensure that everything was working. And you got to take a step back and understand that companies have different things going on that ain't got nothing to do. And first of all, they're not paying you enough to be that stressed out. They're not. They're not paying you that. They're not paying you enough. So, in all seriousness, I've heard that there's been a lot of burnout recently with Scrum Masters. It's like we're trying to solve all the problems, but it's like you can't solve all the problems.
Yeah. So I know we're right at time, but I do have another question for you guys. Well, I guess just some direction for you guys. So what I want to know is, I want each of you to name 3 industries that can convert, or I say jobs that can convert over to Scrum Masters. 3 jobs that can convert over to Scrum Master. Anybody could go first. Just name 3, and you can't pick the same 3. So the person that goes first, go ahead.
To clarify, you're saying jobs that people currently have that would be good transitional role, like to transition over into a Scrum Master role. Yeah. I'm gonna steal one that was said earlier. Teachers.
I was waiting. I said I know somebody's gonna say teacher. Okay.
Yeah, teachers. Cool. I think teachers, just because there's naturally a teaching aspect to being a Scrum Master and a coaching aspect to being a Scrum Master. So that's going to be the one that I'm going to go with. And I kind of cheated, so I apologize.
You're fine. I would say a marketing manager. They could probably be more products, but depends on their soft skills. They could be a marketing manager, a project manager.
Oh, we were supposed to do 3 each?
Oh,
no, we could do one. We don't have time.
Okay.
I have one.
Go ahead.
I'm probably going to say maybe like an executive assistant.
Yes.
They usually have a heavy responsibility and duty to do multitasking. Yeah. And oftentimes they have to interact with a lot of different people to get things done. Right. And so I'm going to say the complexity of the job of an executive assistant and all the requirements and the demand, I'm going to probably say executive assistant. Yeah.
I'm going to throw one out there that might be a little controversial, because Scrum Masters are not managers, right? There's no hierarchies in Scrum teams. Mm-hmm. But
even though we feel
there are managers, and there's all different kinds of managers, whether it's retail or food service or anything. But there's specific manager roles that require you to be more of a leader than a manager, although there's managerial duties, but you're a leader. You're motivating a team to be successful. I'm going to pull from my experience working at Starbucks. I was leading a team of people, right? Like we were all in it together, although I was a manager, right? But I think that's another one. And you have to have soft skills, and you have transferable skills as a manager as well, leading people and leading teams. And one of our responsibilities of a Scrum Master is to be a leader who serves. So I think that's another one. Mm-hmm. I think if you have the personality, you have soft skills, you have transferable skills, you're interested in it, it might be a good path for you. And I know it's not all about that income and that pay, but that doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt anything. So
also, maybe someone working in human resources. I don't know a whole lot about human resources, but I'm going to say based on the personality types, I think that would normally go into human resources in certain roles. Maybe that too.
Even a recruiter, or I would say a recruiter. I know a couple of recruiters that, even though sometimes they don't know what we do, but I know a couple of recruiters that are Scrum Masters. Recruiters, if y'all watching this, y'all know I love y'all, but y'all don't know what I'm talking about. And that's not their fault. It's sometimes the hiring manager. They just tell them what they're looking for, and they're not able to clearly. So if you're a Scrum Master, another thing that I wanted to wrap up with is, don't let them play in your face. Don't look at the job description. Let me give context. Where you see IT manager, or no, IT project manager /Scrum/BA, you need to ask a lot of questions because you are signing up for a free ride to the burnout train is what you're doing. Ask the question. I understand that you want to get in there, you want to get experience, but get clear and ask the questions. Like something really simple that you can ask is, where is the organization in their agile transformation journey? That is a question that a lot of Scrum Masters do not ask. You need to ask that question. And sometimes what will happen is you may get gaslit. I'm just going to be honest with you, because sometimes they don't even know how to answer that question. There hasn't been an assessment done of the organization. They typically just have different consultants that come in and say, hey, go do this thing. And most of the time, they spend a lot of money going through these transformations, only for them to spend more money to go to another transformation. It's a whole back and forth situation. So I'm sharing this to the Scrum Masters who are on the job market, who are interviewing, and you're seeing those pseudo roles. and you're not asking questions from a space of desperation, I get it. We're trying to get a job. Yes, I agree. Getting the experience, getting your hands dirty, but you want to ask the right questions.
It's a great point. And as Scrum Masters, we wear different hats sometimes. You don't want to permanently be wearing 4 or 5
No, not
hats.
those 3. Oh, shit.
So I know we're right at time, and I do have, I'm going to answer my own question, and then I'm going to wrap things up, right? So I'm going to go outside of the job market, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to go to college. People that have been in college, that are graduating, they have been athletes. Athletes make great Scrum Masters as far as point guard, quarterback. Those are the 2 that stand out to me. Point guard and a quarterback. The point guard guides that team. He speaks to that team. He loves everyone on that court. He knows what they all do, but he can't do exactly what they do, right, to be successful. The quarterback, he reads the field. He knows where to place that ball. He knows when to motivate someone. He knows these things. So if you're a college athlete and you didn't go to the NFL, you didn't go to the NBA, I think you would be great in technology or any other industry as a Scrum Master, and you can make the amount of money that you thought that you would be making, even if you're going overseas, and not have to wear and tear on your body. You don't have to worry about your knee blowing out. You're not making a check. You can blow your knee out, still work being a Scrum Master.
Hopefully you just don't blow your knee out.
I actually know one who played for the NFL, and then he went into Scrum.
No, it's so I love like hearing this. I just feel like this is really like it's always very interesting and just crazy that this is where the industry has gotten, where it's so broad now. I love to see it. I love to hear it. Because coming from my lens, it's like I didn't see that this is where we were going to be, or it was possible. But that brings me to my next point. I know we're wrapping up. Shameless plug. The 4th edition of Agile and Brunch is going to be hosted in Chicago this year.
Ooh.
That's going to be the weekend of Juneteenth, so June 20th through the 22nd. So we'll be posting more information about that. We just have the save the date announcement out there. We wanted to kind of let everybody get over Christmas and everything, because I'm not going to pay attention anyways. So I'm not going to make my team work that hard and put all that information out there. But yeah, we're going to start really pushing the marketing promo probably starting next month. But just wanted to give y'all a heads up that we are hosting the 4th edition in Chicago. We're really excited. We've had a 2-year run in Atlanta. Last year we did the DMV. And then this year we are going to Chicago. So that should be really exciting. So if you are watching this and you are in Chicago, hit us up if you want to partner.
But tell us, I'm excited already.
I heard brunch.
I've never been to Chicago. There's a few places that I already like. So tell us a little bit more. I know we'll crunch for time.
I'm about Agile and Brunch. So a little bit of context on Agile and Brunch. And I see Andrea Pratt-Smith. Hey, she was our 2024 Agile Practitioner Impact Awardee. So what we do with Agile and Brunch is we truly celebrate, connect, and empower Agilists from all walks of life. So the idea is to create a safe space, basically, for people of color, different backgrounds. And she's from the Bahamas. Yay. So she came all the way from the Bahamas.
I'm going there next month. I can't wait.
Yeah. So hit up Andrea.
I love the Bahamas.
I love the Bahamas. My favorite place in the world.
While you're out there. So what I love about what we've done with Agile and Brunch is being able to connect and celebrate people like Andrea, because she's all the way in the Bahamas. And if you look at what she's doing, she has been able to create a space in the Bahamas. And I was like, when we were receiving the votes, I was like, wow, this is really impressive that, a woman of color is able to create a space where she's providing value, education to other individuals. So she came all the way from the Bahamas to the DMV to receive her award. So it just really, really showed the value of this space.
Yeah.
that we're creating. So what we do is just come, we have a panel discussion, a lineup of other people that have had experiences or success in this space. They share their stories. And so we're not a conference. We're not a conference. This is not, we're not going to be doing the sprint planning, all of that. No, we're not doing it. And it's not a job fair either. It's a space for you to come, connect, and it's truly a safe space. It's like, think about going to a family reunion. It's almost like that, where you see other people who are in the same industry like you, and they understand you. Because one of the biggest frustrations that I know that I've seen at conferences as an Agilist is I don't know where to fit in. You're not talking about the stuff that I care about. The topics are very technical most of the time. It doesn't speak to me per se. And most Scrum Masters or Agilists have expressed those concerns. And I know I was basically trying to solve my pain points in a nutshell. So I just built my own space because I would go to these Agile events and they're very dry. Like we, if we're being honest, how many of us here have been to Agile conferences and events?
I haven't been to many.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Dom and I'm gonna ask Tim.
I'm in the tech events.
What is? That's what. Notice I said Agile conferences. I didn't say tech event. That's why I was.
That's what I know, and I'm just saying I haven't been.
So I was specific because what has been your experience so far? Safe space.
Go ahead, Damo.
Safe space. I've only been to one, and that was in Raleigh. It was very dry to me. Like it didn't.
It's very dry. Yeah.
It was mostly going over things that I already knew, and then nothing after that. It was just let me tell you how to do sprint planning, or let me tell you how to point a story, and then I'm like, why am I here? Like I don't want to hear this. I already know what I'm doing. But that's just completely being honest. Like that's
not what I need. I don't need that.
I think the community aspect would be better, and that's why I think what you're talking about sounds very exciting.
Yes, it's community, and when I came up with the name, I wanted it to also be fun, because I know for me it's like, oh, I gotta go to another Agile conference, or it's like when I see it, I'm not empowered to want to go.
Have you been to Agile International Conference?
I have not. I've seen them, and sometimes the marketing doesn't speak to me. If I'm being honest, it doesn't. Like whenever I see,
they have one in it's in Miami, I think. I wanted to go to it this year, but I'm not going to be able to. But I figured that would be fun because it's Miami. But I don't know.
It's just I don't know. And I've had this conversation before with I'm not going to mention any name, but somebody from Scrum Alliance, and I had to be really nice on my feedback. I was direct. And I sit on the PMI ACP steering committee, and I've had to have the same conversations where it's just like, how do we get out of our old ways of doing things and start thinking more innovative to get a younger audience? Because the question that I get asked from when I sit on these advisories and different things that I contribute my time and expertise to is, how do we connect to the younger audience? Because my audience are millennials and Gen Zs, right? So from that standpoint, I like to think about what speaks to us, right? Because we want to have a good time. We want to have a space where we can have the professional conversations, but it's in a lighter environment, because what we do, there's already a misconception about what we do, because most of the people that come to Agile and Brunch are new Scrum Masters. They're new. So you want to be able to create a space where somebody who has an experience over 10 years or so is able to share their experience, their backgrounds, their success, to even be able to energize them. And we're having it in a brunch format. Who doesn't love brunch?
Exactly. That's the first thing I heard. But anyway, so we are 15 minutes over our time box. We're not being good Scrum Masters right now.
No, we're not.
It's been a great conversation. We are really happy to have you on. And Damo, if people are looking to maybe break into tech, explore, learn more about the Scrum Master role or product owner role, how could they do that?
So we have an upcoming program, February the 3rd, where we teach you, we give you projects, and we pay you to learn how to be successful Scrum Masters. We also have some upcoming things as well. And now we know that we're going to Chicago. When was it? June?
June 2025, June 20th to 22nd. And we can talk offline because what I will do is I will commit to giving your community a special code. That's what I will do. I'm going to have a special code for y'all specifically because, we locked in now. And I feel like this was a really safe space. I kind of went to therapy. So now I feel like, we've connected the dots a little bit and I'm, felt safe sharing a lot of things here. So
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So we'll come to Chicago, but now the next year we need to talk about you breaking that to North Carolina.
I was going to say Jersey, and that's where I am. But okay, North Carolina.
Why not Agile brunch across the U.S. and I'm here for it. We're actually here for it. We've been having
our own little chapter down here.
Yeah, New Jersey would be nice.
Yeah, we've been having conversations about different spaces. So it was community votes. So a lot of folks did vote on our LinkedIn. We have a Slack channel. So votes, and in our newsletter. We just kind of did different votes and got different data points. And we were surprised by the results that Chicago was our winner. I think a lot of people like myself are interested in actually exploring Chicago. So
I've never been. So that's why for me, it was kind of exciting. I've
been once, and that was in March. I think we're in parking lot right now. This is considered parking lot. Yes,
this is parking lot, and I got a job where my wife's going to kill me. So
same here. My wife is going to kill me as well.
It was really great to meet you, and thank you again for coming on the show tonight.
Absolutely. Connect with me on LinkedIn if we're not connected.
Yep, definitely will.
Yeah, it was lovely meeting y'all. Y'all have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.